Think for yourself. Question authority. Think for yourself. Question authority. Throughout human history, as our species has faced the frightening, terrorizing fact that we do not know who we are or where we're going in this ocean of chaos, it has been the authorities, the political, the religious, the educational authorities who attempted to comfort us by giving us order, rules, regulations, forming in our minds their view of reality. To think for yourself, you must question authority and learn how to put yourself in a state of vulnerable, open-mindedness, chaotic, confused vulnerability to inform yourself. Think for yourself, question authority, think for yourself, question authority, think for yourself, question authority, think for yourself.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. How's everyone doing today? Doing good, I hope. Welcome everybody in the chat. Who do we have visiting us today? Okay. I'll get rid of this guy. That's enough of him. Okay. Welcome, Tim. 13 Gaming 13, Gundam, Trademan Gaming, Real Skills. Thank you all for coming out for a very special Metroid Prime 4 stream. At work tuning in. Yeah, cool, man. So yeah, we have some cool information to discuss with Metroid Prime 4. Some developer insights, you could say, right? So lots of interesting information. Some things we kind of suspected. Some things confirmed in terms of like timeline and also Retro Studios development with the game, how much they had involved with it. So yeah, really cool stuff to talk about here. And first of all, I want to thank all you guys for coming out and supporting the streams of Metroid Prime 4. We did a 14-hour marathon of the game on Christmas Eve going into Christmas Day. So for context, we started streaming Metroid Prime 4 on Christmas Eve in my time, which was 2:30 p.m. And then we went all the way till 4:45 or so a.m. the next day, which was Christmas Day. It went a lot longer than I expected, but it's because we got so far in the game. I was having such a great time. I wanted to basically just beat the game at that point. And I didn't want to wait any longer because we're having such a great time with all the things we're doing in the game. We're doing experimenting with the throwing of the power bombs, experimenting with different combat mechanics, like doing the whole like morph ball, boost ball stuff when you freeze enemies, and just having a really fun time. Lots of great discussions in the chat. So yeah, guys, thanks for your support on that. Since Metroid Prime 4 was since launch day, I believe we have over 32 hours of Metroid Prime 4 content on the channel, combined with live streams and the review, which is a 90-minute long review. So hours and hours and hours of content for Metroid Prime 4. If you're interested, check out my live stream playlist, check out my review. And again, thank you all for your support with that. In regards to any questions, we're going to go over questions at the end after we go over the information. And we will discuss this the interview here with the developer. It looks like The developer, this is from Famitsu, Japanese. I'm assuming it's Tanabe's team from Nintendo. This is not an interview with Retro Studios. So I do believe this is the Nintendo side of things. And they're going to talk about the history of where they started with Metroid Prime 4, where things ended up, and the decisions they made along the way, which were pretty interesting. Welcome, Roman. Addy81, welcome. And yeah, Samus2564. I don't know if I missed you or not, but yeah, welcome to you too. Okay, let's go transition down here, play that Metroid background music. Okay. Yeah, so this is on the FAMI boards, and we're going to talk about the timeline too. I have the timeline wiki page open, because that's interesting. But we'll get into that though. So, Metroid Prime 4. This is, of course, subject to change a little bit, I think, because of the translation. A lot of times these translations are not perfect, guys, so gotta bear with it. But from what most people seem to think is that this is actually pretty accurate in terms of the translation. So hopefully it is accurate. I know we did a Metroid Prime 4 stream, was it in November, I think, or like a month ago or 2 months ago, that somebody tried to translate something from a Famitsu or from a different article, and that information was totally wrong about like the whole story with Psylux being related to Samus in a certain way. That was like pretty much totally wrong. So, but it seems like multiple people have confirmed that this is correct. So this is on FAMI boards. It's not from some Spanish website like the other place was doing it. So yeah. All right. Okay, so they ask questions and answer with the development team here. Okay, so here we have. Hope you can see my cursor. Yeah, you can. Okay, that development team. So they said, please tell us about the development details of this title. Development team. By the way, a lot of this information I haven't even read all the way myself yet, so a lot of this will be new for me. But I did skim over it a little bit. Okay. So, development team, the project started as a request from Nintendo America. This was a request to make a new mainline game in the number Metroid Prime series. We thought about how a game that kept the primeness while also delivering a new experience. At the same time, we made the relationship between Samus and Psylux the main thread of the story, something we want to do at some time. And they asked, please talk to us about some of the toughest points and some of the things you paid extra attention to during the long development period. As a development team, they say partway through the development company changed. The project was restarted with Retro Studios, as we know. That's very, very well known, right? However, at the time, Retro did not have the structure to make a Metroid Prime game because they weren't planning on it, right? Thank you, Brackus. I'll get to your comments when we're done going over this. So first we had to begin by making that structure. So they had to start hiring people, no doubt. Furthermore, we outsourced some of the background model and movie creation to external companies. We covered all that on the channel. All these different like developers, they got involved. Even different companies were involved. We saw that too. Particularly the background data required a lot of external support. So first we had to start by selecting those companies. And then following that, further management was necessary. The progress management staff were very helpful while considering both the schedule and quality. I have a lot of gratitude for them. I also have great appreciation for everyone at the studio who helped make the data. As for things we pay attention to, I suppose it was making sure the new staff understood our design plan. That wasn't just making a game, it was making an experience for the player. Particularly, it took time for everyone to understand the feel of Metroid Prime. I don't know what Ma means. Japanese concept of Ma? Okay. Okay, this refers to the idea of the space between, for example, between objects, time, sound, people, etc. By appreciating the gap, people can better understand the passing of time, sense of beauty. True. It's been 18 years since last number title. What were there any changes you consciously made to reflect the times? All right. Yeah. So here's where things get interesting, okay? Like, start rubbing your hands here. And obviously when you play the game, I do think many people would agree that this part likely is not Retro Studios, like the open world stuff. We'll talk about that in a second. So, development team. At the start of the project, perhaps due to the influence of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, we saw a lot of comments on the internet saying, we want to play an open world Metroid. And they are right about that, by the way, and it's your fault that this happened. Your fault. Yeah, I'm kidding. However, Metroid's core element of increasing the amount of explorable areas by unlocking powers is not very compatible with the freedom to go anywhere from the beginning of open worlds. Thus, we thought to design a limited area that could be freely explored and have that be a hub that could connect to other areas. Then we thought that if one could move around on a bike in a satisfying way in that area, it could be a segment that mitigates the tension from exploration and paces the whole game. In the end, the game took much longer than expected to finish, and we realized that players' impressions toward open world games had changed. That being said, development had already been reset once before when we started again from scratch at Retro Studios. Let's see. So backtracking development again was out of the question, and we resolved to move forward with our original vision. During this time, shooting games and action games went through evolutions, with an increase in game speed in particular. By taking in those changes would have made it difficult to construct the tempo of an adventure game, so we actively chose not to take them into account. Therefore, I think this game, Metroid Prime 4, is pretty much divorced from the changing of times. All right. So yeah, this is like the key part right here. Some people are bringing out that this is one of the key parts to the development of the Metroid Prime 4. Why a couple of the things may feel a little bit out of place, and mainly Soul Valley, I would say, and they are correct. They are correct. Back in 2017, after Breath of the Wild was released, I distinctly remember many guys. Again, this is 8.5 years ago, so if you guys are new here and you weren't around back then, you may not be aware. But this is like 8.5 over, almost 9 years ago at this point, that people were saying that they really wanted a Metroid game. Like, wouldn't it be cool if Metroid was an open world game like Breath of the Wild? And myself personally, I was like, not really. That wouldn't be cool. I mean, it sounds like it might be cool, like to the first like thought of it. To somebody like, oh wow, having this big, expansive, like futuristic world to explore with Metroid, and Samus and everything, and a Metroid Prime guy. Ooh, that sounds really cool. But not really. I don't think so personally. I never thought that was going to be the case, because that would pretty much make it not really Metroid Prime if they made it open world. And I remember doing podcasts with Rob, Rule to Review, Andres Restart, and Joey Ferris. We did a bunch of podcasts. I believe I think we started doing those in 2023, and then it started picking up in 2024, and then this year and everything. But we started talking about like this open world concept for Metroid Prime not really being something that we would really want, because it really would take away from the aspect of being locked away from discovery, because that's what Metroid games do. They put that carrot in front of you so you can kind of see what's there for you to explore and to get, but then you can't get it until you get a certain upgrade later. That's like the whole Metroidvania experience, right? So showing you what you could get, but then keeping it away from you. And it's really hard, like that kind of takes away the aspect of using like a open world experience, because open world means you have all this freedom to go anywhere you want and do things out of order and just do whatever you feel like doing first. Probably adding a bunch of side quests, side missions. Just the whole thing with open world games it can also mean different things to different people. What an open world game is to certain people. If you go the Ubisoft way, you got a bunch of side quests and a bunch of bloat and craziness, that detracts from the main like story pretty much. Or you got an open world game like Zelda Breath of the Wild, where it's just like free air openness, and you just go and explore, and there's no like actual objective that is locked into place. You just do whatever you want. I can go, beat Ganon right now in the first 5 minutes or first, 30 minutes of the game. I go run right to the dungeon and beat him, that kind of stuff. But yeah, typically that's not really what an open world game is. Usually they have a certain objectives you need to do first before you can explore other areas of even of open worlds. So yeah, take it for what you will, but I never personally thought an open world Metroid Prime game would be something that would really make it, true Metroid like experience. So this makes sense that Nintendo themselves was influenced, and Nintendo was influenced by the comments of fans back then, and saying like, "Hell, we would like to have a Metroid Prime game that's open world. Wouldn't that be cool?" And I saw a lot of that stuff. Like I said, a lot of comments, but I always pushed back against it. So they ended up having an idea of having this like open area to explore, and locking it to more of a hub world, right? And then they went ahead and asked Retro Studios, once that first Metroid Prime 4 was scrapped, because they had that idea since the beginning, but they had a different company making the game. A lot of people assume it's Bandai Namco of Singapore. That was never confirmed by Nintendo or by Bandai Namco, but many people assume it was them. But whoever it was, it doesn't matter at this point. But that version of Metroid Prime 4 was pretty much, I guess, really bad according to Nintendo, so they scrapped it. And then they went ahead and restarted with Retro Studios, and they directed Retro Studios to go ahead with this plan to have an open area like hub world to go along with free exploration combined with the traditional Metroid Prime experience, right? And so that's what they started doing. And then they said, in the second paragraph here that we talked about, that the game took much longer than expected to finish. So it was like late 2018, early 2019, Retro Studios started redeveloping Metroid Prime 4. And they said, which is Nintendo, because this is not Retro Studios we're talking about, we realized that players' impressions toward open world games had changed. That being said, development had already been reset once before. So who knows when this was? This could have been like in 2021, 2022 range or so, when they had this like a little bit maybe of a second thought about the open world part or open area part. So, but backtracking development again was out of the question, and we resolved to move forward with our original vision. And then they talk about how shooting games and action games had went through many different evolutions, different types of gameplay introduced, a lot faster stuff, like as we see in many games like Battlefield, Call of Duty, Fortnite, Marvel Rivals. All these shooters and first-person shooters have gone through a lot of different changes. So I think this is a good thing that they actually ignored that, because if they made it way too much like other first-person shooters, say like a Doom Eternal, even though I would have liked some of those aspects, because a lot of like stuff like with Doom is kind of similar to Metroid and some of the exploration stuff. But I can understand why if you make it way too like other games, then it becomes less like a Metroid Prime game and more just like a first-person shooter at that point. Like Twitch reactions, sliding, going crazy, jumping off, bouncing off, stuff, and even though like you can do some of that stuff in 2D games, I can understand why they would want to make some changes, but not make it way too different to make it just like all the games of the time. So I think this is actually a good idea, because we still got that core Metroid Prime feeling experience when you play Metroid Prime 4, but there are improvements to the game speed. Factually, the combat is better, the game is more difficult, you have more movement abilities, better aiming, and Metroid Prime 4 does feel like a modern Metroid Prime game, but not too different that you're feeling like you're playing like a Doom game or a Call of Duty game, you see? So I think they did a good job on the combat here, okay? I see your comments. I'll get to you guys when we're done discussing this. I don't want to lose my train of thought here. I know you guys have lots of opinions, of course, but yeah, we'll get to that. So yeah. Like I said in my review, and if you watch my 14-hour marathon on Metroid Prime 4, I didn't say it in review because I only played it once, but in my second playthrough, I actually liked Metroid Prime 4 even more because we were doing all kinds of different stuff my second time playing through the game versus the first time. Like throwing power bombs is awesome, and doing the whole meta with your boost ball and with combat is really fun. So like. And I kind of discovered some other things too in my second playthrough that I want to re-explore again for a third playthrough. So there's lots of replayability. I think the game was perfectly paced, in my opinion. I didn't think there was no like downtimes. I didn't think the pacing was bad in Metroid Prime 4. I thought it was great. Like I just had a great time playing it, man. But yes, let's move on with the rest of the questions here. What is the meaning conveyed in the subtitle Beyond? And it said the development team intended it to mean transcending time and space. So yeah, I think this is going to be a trilogy. So whether or not they will actually go through time, we don't know yet for sure, because like they went to another like dimensional like area in the galaxy or different galaxy. You could say that's transcending time and space, but like Samus didn't really go through like time travel in the game. Like if you beat the game, it's not really time travel. So maybe they will in Metroid Prime 5 and 6 with Silex. You never know. What is the biggest appeal of Metroid Prime 4 in a nutshell? Development team. Ooh, talk about graphics. Okay. Technically, the stunning graphics using massive texture data, we fully maximize our hardware potential, like maintaining steady 60 frames on Nintendo Switch, 120 frames on Switch 2. As a game, we want players to experience the unique genre of first-person adventure. If they play through to the end, we believe it'll be a memorable experience that goes beyond the simple satisfaction of clearing the game. 100% agree. That's what a Metroid Prime game is all about. Just beating the game is not nearly what the whole like experience is. It's just a small part of it. Beating the game is just kind of like almost like the sad point. You don't want these games to end. You want to keep being able to explore. That's why they're so replayable. You want to keep going back and replay them because you're always like finding something new in these games. I kid you not. Like I played through Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 1, Metroid Prime 3. I'm always like finding tiny little things slightly different every time I play these games, and I played them so many times. And no doubt it's going to be the same thing for Metroid Prime 4. I've already seen so many different things just in my second playthrough. Could you elaborate on features unique to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition? Would you focus on adjusting field of mouse controls? This is not too interesting to me. I didn't really play with mouse controls. I played with DualStick. So yeah, they just talk about their controls there. I'll leave the link to this in the description. I'm not gonna. I don't think I'm too interested in this part. We know, it's interesting. The control stuff. When creating Planet Viros, what aspects did you pay particular attention to? The staff in charge of art and environment construction put a lot of effort into how to express the outwardly jungle in Fury Green, the first area you explore. Of course, we believe the other areas also have unique environments. In particular, the visualization of the Lemoran culture, symbolized by structures, showcases the exceptional talent of Steve Berg, who's in charge of concept art. They actually named somebody. And is characterized by a sense of unity and elegant curves. Oh, interesting. Okay. Adopting new psychic ability. Okay. When playing with the prototype, we came up with the idea of controlling the charge beam. We had it programmed and tested and determined it would add a new layer of gameplay. But then we asked, what makes Samus capable of this? That led to the psychic, tied to psychic abilities. Later, when development was transferred to Retro Studios, we asked them to add other ideas for psychic abilities. Okay, cool. So Retro Studios actually came up with more ideas for the psychic abilities. That's pretty cool. I like that. All right, and the viola. Tell us the reason for adopting this element, in particular, points you focused on. Also, are there any tips for mastering it? So this is interesting. They talking about viola. When we conceived the freely navigable hub area, Soul Valley, again, not Retro Studios, this was Nintendo who wanted Soul Valley. The issue of movement speed arose simultaneously. Walking across vast areas, even with freedom of movement, can become stressful. While Samus possesses high-speed abilities like the Boost Ball and Speed Booster, we determined that riding a bike was the optimal solution to satisfy both the perspective of moving freely and quickly across large areas and the perspective of looking cool. The key point was achieving that purely enjoyable feeling of just piloting it. Retro Studios programmers and game designers fine-tuned this, and we feel it resulted in a satisfying responsive feel. True, I agree. Furthermore, the map creation team crafted maps with varied terrain that truly let you experience a responsive feel once you can freely control and drift for directional changes. It allows for both that satisfying feel and the necessary gameplay responsiveness. 100% agree. I think Retro Studios did a great job of fine-tuning the feel of viola. Again, Soul Valley itself, whether you hated it or whether you thought it was fine or you enjoyed it, most people agree that viola itself, the bike, was really fun to use. Some people just wanted a different environment to play with viola in, and not just Soul Valley. Even though you can use viola in the opening areas of places like Volt Forge and Flare Pool. You can kind of drive it around a little bit, but it is more limited in those areas. But yes, I think viola was fantastic. I thought I didn't have any problems with it at all. I thought it was very fun. Okay, let's talk about advice. Focus on scanning for new players. Yes, we're not really new players here. Okay. So please tell us about the timeline of the game. All right. I assume it takes place after Metroid Federation Force, but how does it relate to other games? So yeah. Shout out to Tim. He brought it up. And I pushed back on it for whatever dumb reason a few streams ago. He was saying like, oh yeah, this takes place after Super Metroid, and I was like, no, all these games take place before that. It's in between Metroid 1 and Metroid 2. But I totally forgot a few streams ago that yes, I've discussed this already. The timeline, the 20 X9 is the year that is a couple years after Super Metroid. We discussed this back in 2024 when the game was first shown in trailer form. We discussed it in podcast. I just forgot a few streams ago. So if you guys were there, that was my mistake. I already had known that this was taking place after Super Metroid, but my mind was just focused on the Metroid Prime trilogy. But yes, the timeline does already confirm that. If you know the timeline of when those games took place, when the game starts, Metroid Prime 4, it says in the cosmic year 20X9. That's how we know it already takes place after Super Metroid. The whole discussion aspect of the timeline kind of was subdued, basically because a lot of people assumed that you might be going through time in this game. Of course, like I said, if you haven't beat it yet, you wouldn't know this, but it does not seem like in Metroid Prime 4 at least that we're doing any time travel. Okay, so the discussion of the actual year was kind of subdued, even though it was known back in 2024 because of this. Some people may have assumed that possibly the game takes place in the future and you go back in time, like Back to the Future, and you may go before the events of Metroid Prime 1, that type of stuff. There's lots of unknowns back then. But yes, we kind of did know that it was going to take place after Super Metroid if that year 20X9 actually held up throughout the entire game, which it did. Okay? So yeah. So the development team says it's set after Super Metroid and before Metroid Fusion. However, since Samus has jumped into another dimension beyond time and space, that's what they say in this game, you won't need to worry about the timeline going forward. We deliberately set it up that way. We wanted to allow for a free and unique setting for Metroid Prime without affecting the 2D series. So I don't really know what that means exactly, because if you're a sci-fi fan, time and space, you know, like if you ever watch Star Trek The Next Generation, you watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine, these Star Trek shows, basically. I always reference Star Trek because they do it really well. And a lot of other shows and movies like The Terminator, Back to the Future, they do a lot of things with time and space, the space-time continuum, you know, affecting the future, affecting the past, that kind of stuff. But Metroid Prime 4 was never really outwardly about traveling through time. It was more about being transported to another world, okay? And they call it a dimension beyond time and space, so maybe they're hinting at the Lemorne exists in this different dimension beyond time and space, and it doesn't really affect the current timeline, even though they go ahead and mention that the cosmic year is 20X9. Okay, so if you got your sci-fi nerdy caps on, we can delve into that. You know, we can discuss that more. But it's interesting though, because the game doesn't really discuss Samus traveling through time. It was more about them being transported, pretty much through this like black hole with like a wormhole, kind of like, which can transport you across different galaxies or to different areas. It can in theory, it can do that. Okay, a lot of these things are just theoretical in sci-fi. So who knows? So I guess they're trying to just make it clear that don't put too much stock in the timeline at this point. But they did go ahead and say the year. So I am kind of putting some importance to it because I didn't see Samus go through any actual time. You know, just, you know, all she did was being transported with everyone else. So we're gonna have to wait and see, I guess, in Metroid Prime 5 and 6, right? But we could discuss that though. It's interesting. So they said, please tell us about the intentions behind the creation of the enemy character Sylux, including his design and backstory. Yeah, this is important, okay? Because a lot of people have questions about Sylux. So when developing Metroid Prime Hunters, the game designers at NST, the development company, came up with the concept for each hunter. Along with them is the idea about Sylux harbors hatred toward the Federation and Samus. At the time, I specifically asked them not to decide on the reason behind it. I did this so that if I ever wanted to create a game centered around that reason, the existing concept wouldn't become a hindrance. While laying groundwork on the endings of Metroid Prime 3 and Federation Force, we finally decided on the specifics of what happened in the past for this game. Okay? So, the footage that Samus sees, right? All these visions that she sees resonating with Sylux's consciousness, like occasional flashbacks. Due to his self-righteous and narrow-minded nature, Sylux came to resent Samus and the Galactic Federation. The suit design, while based on the original colors and design, was redesigned by Retro Studios artists. In terms of lore, we established that the Galactic Federation modified the suit using nanotechnology. I believe it resulted in a more refined and stylish design. Nanotechnology. Are we talking about nanites here from Star Trek The Next Generation? These guys are really going deep in the sci-fi stuff here. But yeah. So yeah, it's pretty much self-explanatory a little bit for Sylux. So like you're getting like this psychic connection from these flashbacks with Samus and Sylux because they're being affected by that, you know, going into that other dimension or other galaxy where the planet Viros is. And there's some kind of connection there with the Chrono Tower, right? Is my guess. So yeah, Silux is probably we're going to get a lot more about Silux in Metroid Prime 5 and 6 is my guess. This was just the setup game for that, from what it seems like. All right. I prepared plenty of those quintessential. Okay, so this time while we prepared plenty of those quintessential Metroid moments in solitary exploration, we've also incorporated cooperation with the Galactic Federation forces. What was the intention behind the Galactic Federation? Okay. So I said in our approach to game design, we often start by setting the theme we want players to experience in the title. Normally, when players clear a game, they press the A button without hesitation, right? So for Metroid Prime 4, we wanted them to feel hesitation and conflict there. That's why we decided to have Galactic Federation soldiers also be transported to planet Viros. With that foundation, we then considered how the soldiers should behave within the game to feel realistic. Rather than examining specific elements one by one, like adding escort missions and engaging casual users, we determined each character's AI and event specifications to evoke the feeling. If a character is cowardly, they'll be weak in combat, so you have to protect them, right? So Miles McKenzie, everyone's favorite, right? Starting with McKenzie, the Galactic Federation characters are designed to feel relatable as players progress through the game. What did you prioritize in their personality and dialogue? So we wanted Miles McKenzie to be the best. No, we decide on the characters' personalities based on their roles, starting since McKenzie, the engineer, also serves as the game's guide. We wanted him to have bright and lighthearted feel. We wanted him, McKenzie, to be skilled at developing items, so we made him a talented technician, but to keep him from coming across as obnoxious, we made him a bit absent-minded and timid. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah, for the sniper Takabi, we imagined a hunter who is quiet, solitary, and has a mysterious aura. He often acts alone throughout the game, so we made him that kind of character. Sergeant Duke and Private Armstrong are like a stubborn old man and girly girl. Their conversations and acting are designed to make the contrast between them two seem endearing. True, that did work. Also, when they act together with Samus, they were programmed to show their characteristics. The reckless private who tends to rush in first, and the calm sergeant who is reliable and has strong firepower. I actually designed events centered around them, but unfortunately due to scheduling issues, I couldn't make them happen. Oh, okay. They had more planned. The android View 995 was designed as a pilot of a giant mech. Since other characters have strong personalities, we deliberately opted for a robotic, inorganic expression for him. A personal point of focus was that he can launch multiple missiles and simultaneously from his shoulders. Specifically asked the animator to depict their trajectory using the pattern in common Japanese anime. Oh, okay. That was actually kind of noticeable. True. How they shoot off like that, you know. Their dialogue was handled by Retro Studios writers. Oh, yeah. I didn't catch this part before. So their dialogue was handled by Retro Studios writers, and their acting was supervised by Retro Studios movie staff. Movie staff. Okay, Retro Studios has a movie staff. Interesting. They handled everything with great care and enthusiasm, including several retakes, and we implemented many of their suggestions. Furthermore, the Japanese dialogue wasn't simply translated, it was simplified to fit the game while expressing each character's personality, and rewritten to sound more realistic and natural. This wasn't done by a writer, but done by designer Taro Kudo. Okay, very good. All right, so finally we come to the end here, guys. If there's anything you'd like to share of those currently playing Metroid Prime 4, or those who haven't played it yet, please tell us. They say, we hope you experienced the graphics and smooth gameplay we aimed for the highest level among Nintendo games. We'd be delighted if you not only clear the game, but also take the time to explore every corner of this world. This applies to the Federation soldiers too. Their conversations and movements were crafted with great care to ensure they aren't just AI characters. You feel this if you return to their place many times during the game and engage in conversation. Above all, the Metroid Prime series is fundamentally a game about thinking and finding answers. True. This philosophy extends even to combat, symbolized by the boss battles. Makes it perhaps a rare gem in today's gaming landscape. Yet we believe this captures the true essence of what makes games fun. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond combines visceral excitement with the intellectual satisfaction of discovery, creating an experience you'll remember. We sincerely hope you'll give it a play. So yeah, this is a very good way of explaining Metroid Prime games, thinking and finding answers. It's not just about being isolated. I'm isolated. You know, it's not Metroid Prime games I never felt were like just about that at all. Yes, you're alone a lot of the times, even in Metroid Prime 4, but thinking and finding answers is definitely what these series is about. And Metroid Prime 4 does have multiple moments like that. I got stuck on my second playthrough a couple times just because I couldn't remember which part, I believe it was Ice Belt. I got stuck a couple times there. Partly because I was distracted by the chat, sure, but there's lots of elements in Metroid Prime games where they make it kind of, you don't notice things. You got to really examine it more closely to find the answer to unlock certain doors or unlock certain areas in these games. Metroid Prime 4 is no different. So yeah, very good stuff. Let me see. I got this here. I can play in the background. We talk a little bit. Just some footage. This is basically like my review footage I have without the sound. All right. So what do you guys think about that? I know you guys are talking a lot, but I had to get through that before we can discuss everything. Metroid 4, yeah. But yeah, yeah, I mean, Prime 4 has backtracking, Prime 4 has isolation, Prime 4 has puzzle solving, Prime 4 has, like thinking about ways how to progress. You got to, find certain niches, certain crevices, like something to break, something to unlock. Metroid Prime games are all about that. So, all right. But yeah, thanks for coming out, guys. We got some people joining us. Please do me a big favor and hit that like button for me if you're enjoying this. Let's get as many likes as possible. Appreciate you coming out. All right, so a couple of my thoughts about Metroid Prime 4 overall. Like I said before, I think it's better. It's better than I like it more the second time I played it than I did it even the first time, even though I loved it the first time. But it's so crazy though. The game does so many things better than any Metroid Prime game. It does the combat better, it does the bosses better, the music's like the best. There's like there's a very like, for this is just all my opinion, okay? So like for me, there's no like down moment in like the biomes. Like I feel all the biomes are very well done. They're all different enough in their own ways that they add enough variety to the gameplay that I was never bored. I was never bored in Volt Forge. I was never bored in Ice Belt. I was never bored in Flare Pool. I was never bored in the Great Mines. I was never bored even in Soul Valley because I always had something to do. There's always something to do in Metroid Prime 4. I was never like just sitting there, like not enjoying myself in the game. And I'm being 100% honest here. Like it was nothing. It was all a very, very enjoyable, consistent experience for me. So I think the main disconnect, like there was, like I said in my review, there was a letdown when you actually leave Volt Forge and go to Soul Valley for the main first time that when you get your bike. There was a letdown emotionally because the music was very, very quiet and subdued. It wasn't like off. There was music there, but the vibe is so different in Soul Valley. It's so like dead, like this dead like planet. Like everything has died out there. and you're out there on your bike and you're exploring and everything, coming from the crazy, like, amazing lightning everywhere, thunder, rain, and all the great music and all the boss fights and all the combat and all the cool, like, structure of finding viola and all the different, like, things you got to do with that to get to your first new suit upgrade. You get viola, all that stuff's happening in Volt Forge, and then you're placed into Soul Valley. I think that is when there is an emotional lessening, or like there's like a down moment there where you're mentally need to adjust. And for a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but some people, and a lot of these guys who are like in media who reviewed the game, I think they took that and they took that to like a really high level as far as their disappointment was. For me, it wasn't like that. It was more like a change of vibe, but I didn't really have a problem with it once I adjusted after just a few minutes of play. And then you go on to the next area pretty quickly, because Soul Valley is honestly not very big because your bike goes so fast, okay? So there was an adjustment period there for maybe about 15 minutes for me going into Soul Valley my first time, like alone. And if you feel the same way, I agree. I mean, I'm right there with you. Some people didn't have any issue at all with Soul Valley, like adjusting to it. I did for just a few minutes, but like some people just couldn't stand Soul Valley, whatever. But like when you actually analyze the development history of this game, you could kind of tell from the trailers that Soul Valley really didn't seem like something Retro Studios would be designing in a Metroid Prime game. It did seem that, if we're perfectly honest here, it did seem very much so that this was something from the higher ups that Nintendo wanted to implement into a Metroid Prime game based on the games of the time. You know what I mean? Like you could clock that up to being very much a trend that Nintendo was pushing with their own games, Breath of the Wild, and then listening to feedback with fans saying like, "Oh, we want an open world. Wouldn't that be so cool if we had an open world Metroid game?" And they're like, "Huh? How could we do that without having the game be totally ruined?" Because that's not what Metroid Prime is. It's not open world, so it doesn't really work very well. So, I know. Let's make an open like hub area, be it very explorable. You can kind of do things in your own path, and then you can go from there. Excuse me. And so that's what they did. And then they brought out in their development that they were actually having some second thoughts about it, like midway through with Retro Studios, Nintendo that is, because the way like players viewed open worlds gameplay had changed. So they were contemplating scrapping the open world area, hub world of Metroid Prime 4, but for them to do that, it would take way too much time and way much longer development resources to actually redo that entire purpose of that Soul Valley and to create it into something else. The game had taken Retro Studios 6 years to get out in the first place after restarting it after 2 years. So yes, I totally understand why they they had to stick with their guns and stick with having Soul Valley be the hub area. And I think, hats off to Retro Studios. I think they did a fantastic job making Soul Valley feel incorporated enough into the actual game itself. It wasn't fully connected like you would expect, like a Talon 4 or a Temple Grounds of Metroid Prime 1 and 2, but it also was a lot more connected than how they didn't connect anything in Metroid Prime 3 and just had your gunship, Samus's gunship, fly in between levels or planets. So there was no hub world in Metroid Prime 3. Metroid Prime 4 at least does have a hub world, and you do feel connected to the other areas from the hub world. I think they did as good enough job as they possibly could with the circumstances they were given from Nintendo. So this wasn't Retro Studios' choice to actually make Soul Valley. This was Nintendo's direction for them to please, let's go ahead with this concept of having the open hub world, have it be connected to Fury Green, Flare Pool, iSpelt, and the great minds. Let's have it all connected in VoltForge, and then give people the freedom to explore this open area. Let's make it the best we possibly can. We can't change it at this point. So that's pretty much what happened, and that is the main disconnect that some fans have with this game, is that many people feel that Soul Valley doesn't feel connected enough as part of the entire Metroid Prime 4 experience. And as far as a Metroid Prime game is, because it feels like a different game when you're playing it, because you're just on your bike for the most part. Even though you can get off your bike, and you can run, or you can walk around with Samus, you won't get anywhere very fast, right? So I think they did a very, very good job, to be honest with you. I think Soul Valley is a lot of fun, and I think it gets way, way overblown with the hate for it. It's just a different type of experience from the rest of the Metroid Prime experience that you have in Metroid Prime 4, and it was different enough that some players did not like it at all, and they wanted it to be out of the game. But as you could see from the interview, it just wasn't going to happen. So I do think with Metroid Prime 5, most likely from the start, Retro Studios is probably going to be designing the entire thing themselves, with probably the direction from Nintendo for the story aspects, is my guess. But since they took over for another team and had to restart development, they wanted to keep with that original idea of having this hub world. I'm almost 100% positive the Metroid Prime 5 will not have anything like Soul Valley in it. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I don't really think they executed Soul Valley poorly. I just think it was different enough that some people didn't like it being included in this type of game. They wanted something different, or they wanted something more connected, like a Talon 4 or Temple Grounds. I understand that, but for me personally, I still had a great time in Soul Valley, and I actually enjoyed it much more the second time I played it. So but I am very curious to see what Retro Studios will do for Metroid Prime 5 with the Switch 2 exclusive to Switch 2 with the hardware. I think they could do something really amazing, making it just for Switch 2. And I'm also very curious to see what different ideas they can come up with. Maybe they'll add like more underwater levels. Somebody was talking about that in my last streams. There's no underwater stuff, so there's no like gravity suit in Metroid Prime 4. So I do think they'll probably have underwater stuff return. They'll probably have a much more interconnected, world as far as like your main like starting area, and have everything connect. They probably will go back to that, is my guess. And it'll probably feel more of a connected, seamless experience, is my assumption, and that's definitely what I got from the interview there. But again, as far as the overall game is concerned, I had a fantastic time with this game, and I had a great time in Soul Valley, better than I expected. Because like when I first saw this game in trailers, I was like, I don't know about this desert. And I don't know about this bike. Like, what is this? I was like, wow, this is really odd when I first saw this. If you remember my reaction, I was like, what is this, Metroid Prime 4? I was really confused. Like, is this like, because I thought it was actually like a, at first I thought it could be like a racing game, like spin-off, when I first saw the reveal for it. Okay, guys. And so I wasn't really disappointed. I was more like confused when I first saw the reveal of Viola, for example. So, but then once I actually played it and I adjusted to it, I was like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with this at all. I was having a good time. I liked the shrines. I liked boosting and getting all the boost upgrades for Viola, going super fast, and doing the power sliding, getting the green crystals, which were completely harmless and like not even an issue at all. But yeah, man, from what this game went through in its development history, man, they did an amazing job on this, guys. Like, I completely blown away by what they accomplished with this game. I was so happy with it, honestly. Okay. So yeah, let's get to some discussion in the chat. I know I've been ignoring you, but I gotta get my thoughts out there, okay? All right. It's a so Valley Gomu, they dropped the ball by remaking Prime 1 and not Prime 2 and 3. So now people replayed 1 and jumped to 4 and forgot the whole Prime 2 and 3. Yep, I've been talking about that for the last few months. I thought it was very bad choice to not have people have even the opportunity to play Prime 2 or Prime 3 on Switch 1 or Switch 2. Just Prime 1. Like, this game is so different from Prime 1, but it's also has a lot of similarities to Prime 1, but it takes a lot of cues from Metroid Prime 3, like a lot of them. So man, such a shame. Such a shame that people didn't get a chance to play 2 or 3, because you could see the evolution of where they were going with the series from those 2 games. And it's been 18 years. So, like, yeah, man, you're going to have some pushback from people who just played Metroid Prime 1. And they'd be like, wow, this is like, yeah, this looks great, but I'm confused. Like, why are we all these people talking to me? And what's all this, dialogue-based story and all this kind of stuff? And what are all these NPC characters? What is all this stuff? Because Metroid Prime 1 didn't have that. So, yeah, it's... I think like the actual development of it, Retro Studios did a fantastic job from what they're directed to, but like the actual like advertising of the game and like not giving people context for what the series had been, that's all Nintendo's fault. Okay, like the advertising itself got good in the last like couple weeks before it was released, like as far as letting people know the game exists, but you got to give people some context about the games, right? Like the actual history of Metroid Prime. Nintendo did a terrible job on that. Awful job. Like, here's Metroid Prime 1, now here's Metroid Prime 4. Go have fun. It's like, yes, the story is completely brand new in Metroid Prime 4, so you don't need to play the other games, but you still should play the other games to get context of where the series has been gameplay-wise, because the story has never been the main focus of any Metroid Prime game. I'm sorry, but it simply isn't. That's just not how it is. If you think story is the main aspect of a Metroid Prime game, then you don't know anything about Metroid Prime. I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, Nintendo, 13. Nintendo definitely showed off the Switch 2 hardware Prime 4. Volcanic Penguin. Why not have an open world surface that connects to an underground labyrinth through lots of entry points? I agree with you on that one. That's something they might have been able to implement, but again, that could have taken a lot. That could have pushed back development even longer. That would be interesting though, to have like have Soul Valley, like the underground of Soul Valley, be an entire like dungeon labyrinth, like something from like Metroid Prime 2, like Torvus Bog, like the underground Torvus Bog. Torvus Bog was, like, don't get me wrong, Metroid Prime 2, one of the best games of all time. Problem is though, Metroid Prime 2 only has 2 areas that are like amazing. The Agon Wastes and even the Temple Grounds are kind of boring. And Agon Wastes might be the worst designed, or not, but the least exciting, most boring Metroid Prime level or biome in any Metroid Prime game. That's just my opinion though, right? You guys may think otherwise, but I didn't like Agon Waste. So whenever you see me play Metroid Prime 2, I'm going to be going as fast as I can to get through Agon Waste so I can get to that luscious, beautiful, swampy Torvus Bog and Sanctuary Fortress. So, like, I look at Metroid Prime 2 as having 2 really good areas, but they're amazing areas, but, like, it's inconsistent. Like, I'm not really having that great of a time playing through Agon Waste to get there. Metroid Prime 4, though, Soul Valley's there at all times, but it's not like you need to be there for very long. You have these beautiful, lush, amazing environments. Every single one of them are just like a joy to play. So like, yeah, Fury Green, Volt Forge, all the areas are just like great, man. I feel it's a very consistent game. I thought it was paced very well. You want to talk about comparisons to Metroid Prime 3? I think this is better in pretty much every single way compared to Metroid Prime 3. Especially in the gameplay area. The gameplay mechanics of Metroid Prime 3, I feel are extremely dated in a negative way. After replaying it in last month in November, I love the game. Don't get me wrong. I do love the game. It's still Metroid Prime. It's still Metroid Prime gameplay. The game is way too easy. Hyper Beam, it makes it extremely like just pointless. The combat is almost pointless in that game. Completely like you just don't feel like you're challenged whatsoever. The enemy design in Metroid Prime 3 is the worst in the series. The bosses are really generic. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's just easily the worst of the series in my opinion. And but like I said, it's all everyone's opinion is valid. If you have an opinion that's different than mine, I don't have a problem with that. I can only tell you what my opinion is, okay? If you really like Metroid Prime 3 a lot, that's great. Some people, like I know, like Shokyo, for example, Metroid Prime 3 was his favorite of the trilogy. And he actually thought Metroid Prime 4 was like right up there with Metroid Prime 3 for him as his favorites. He didn't actually like Metroid Prime 2 or 1 as much as 3, which is interesting. And he's a guy that has very, very clear, respected opinions. He can explain himself very well. I have a lot of respect for Shokyo. So yeah, it all depends on what you like or what you feel is better to you. And also, I'll be honest with you guys, a lot of it has to do with nostalgia. And nostalgia is a really good thing, but it can also be a very tricky, confusing thing to people that tricks them into thinking something's better when it actually is not. So I told you guys many times before the release of Metroid Prime 4, before I even knew anything about Miles McKenzie, I told you guys like a year ago, before anything about Soul Valley or anything about this, I told you guys a year or more or so ago, I said very clearly, I will try my best to judge Metroid Prime 4 on its actual merits as a game versus the original games by taking out nostalgia from the equation, okay? Once you take out nostalgia from the equation from Metroid Prime 1, 2, and 3, it's really easy for me to talk about what Metroid Prime 4 does better than all of those games. You see what I'm saying? Like I've seen some guys out there automatically dismiss the music of Metroid Prime 4. Like it's automatically worse than Metroid Prime 1 because that's Metroid Prime 1. Are you sure? Are you sure you're not just letting nostalgia play into your mind there a little bit there? Because Metroid Prime 1 definitely has god tier music, but so does Metroid Prime 4. My thing is that you got to really separate yourself if you want to be someone who's really like giving a clear, objective opinion, not just based on nostalgia. You got to take out the nostalgia from the equation and actually judge it for what it's giving you right now versus if you play a game from 2002, 2004, 2007 versus and you play the game judging it based on what it gives you versus what the game does now. Is certain things better or are they not better? If they are better, you can't just automatically say a game from 25 years ago or 20 years ago is better than this game on certain things just because it's older, just because you have nostalgia for it. I can't honestly give you a good opinion on something if I'm just saying something's better because it's special to me. You know what I'm saying? Metroid Prime 2 is better than Metroid Prime 4 because it's special to me. I really like it. Like, yes, but it's not really, that's not really a valid, like, that's not really valid. You know, just because something's special to you from like 20 years ago, it doesn't make it a better game. You may prefer it or like it better, but does it objectively make the game better? Absolutely not. See what I'm saying? That's all I'm trying to explain here. So that's what I told you guys over a year ago. I said I'm going to divorce myself from nostalgia the best that I can to give you an actual objective opinion on Metroid Prime 4 versus 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, objectively, I think Metroid Prime 4 is a better game than Metroid Prime 2. A little bit, by a little bit. Mainly because of what I said before, of the consistency of Metroid Prime 2 is just not quite as consistent for me as Metroid Prime 4 is. And combat's better in Metroid Prime 4, like hands down. Music's better in Metroid Prime 4. More biomes are better than in Metroid Prime 4. It's just, I feel it's just slightly better. Music's better in Metroid Prime 4. Boss battles are better in Metroid Prime 4. I'm just talking about Metroid Prime 2. Metroid Prime 1, I feel overall is the better game. Not because of nostalgia, but because the game perfectly represents what a Metroid Prime game is at its core, and it has all the aspects just like implemented perfectly. Metroid Prime 1, I believe, might just be as close as you can get to a perfectly designed game. Even though, yes, the combat is not as good, in my opinion, versus Metroid Prime 4, I believe Metroid Prime 1 captures the essence of what Metroid Prime is just perfectly in every aspect, and has just enough of everything. Just enough really good boss design, just enough really good combat, just enough fantastic music, just enough like connected world, just enough of everything perfectly melded together to make it the better game. Metroid Prime 2 takes things down a few notches for a few things, and it's not as consistent. Metroid Prime 4 does a lot of things that are controversial for like as far as like the Viola stuff's concerned, and like traveling Soul Valley, and but again, this is just my opinions here against whoever's. But like, did I feel that this made it not a Metroid Prime game anymore, but by being able to explore an open area, hub area that connects you to other areas that are very much Metroid Prime? No, and the reason for that is because with Viola, you still have Metroid Prime gameplay. It just gets you to certain areas in Soul Valley better, faster, and you can kind of like navigate the area. There's shrines and then like hidden areas in Soul Valley. You can still do like your abilities with Metroid Prime gameplay in them. So yeah, like it's different, but it doesn't take the entire gameplay aspect of Metroid Prime and like discard it completely. It's still there. It just has a different layer of interactivity and different gameplay in it in Soul Valley. So yeah, so that's why I'm trying to explain to you guys like why I feel the way I do about this game. So like you have a lot of variety. I mentioned this as well before the game was released, that I was really excited to play Metroid Prime 4 because like, man, the amount of variety that this game was showing just in previews, I was blown away. I was like, I can't wait to like play this game because I'm never going to be bored. There's like all kinds of stuff you can do in this game. It just never ends. There's always something to do. Always something to explore, always something to get. Like, it's really an amazing accomplishment when you think about it in that sense. So it's wild, man. Yep. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the things Miles miles per hour fan. Prime 1 had single stick aiming. It can't possibly outdo Prime 4 in combat. Yeah. A lot of these things are like basically like Metroid Prime 1 it's just outdated on a lot of aspects. Like the speed of the game is slower. How you aim is it's just not as good. But yeah, like factually, Metroid Prime 4 has better combat than Metroid Prime 1. It's just how it is. A lot of things have just like upgraded, since 2002 or 2010 when they like integrated, or 2009 Metroid Prime Trilogy came out on the Wii, when they implemented the motion controls and pointer controls in Metroid Prime Trilogy. But so like, yeah, that's the thing though. Like, do you hold that against Metroid Prime 1 because it's developed from an older time? Like, I got to be objective though, right? What is better? What is better to play? What has better combat? Yeah, Metroid Prime 4 does. That's just how it is. What can you say? Welcome, Aaron Raths. After hearing everything Retro had to rebuild, I'm even more impressed with Retro Studios put out with this game. Yeah, me too, man. Me too. J Biggs, the hate is comedy for me. We'll say it proudly all day. Metroid Prime 4 is game of the year. Yeah, that's my game of the year too. Easily. There's no game like Metroid Prime 4, guys, out on the Switch 2. Besides like playing Metroid Prime 1 remastered in backwards compatible mode. There's no game like it. Yeah, Valley. I'm gonna call you Valley Gomu. You think that Metroid Prime 4 is also a really competent game that, like, if you remove it from the rest of the series, I feel like it's a really good entry point for the Prime series. Yeah, it is. What I hope Retro Studios does for Metroid Prime 5 is just make the game that they want to make. Like Nintendo had a vision, like executive producer Tanabe, right, for Metroid Prime 4 had a vision that he really wanted to see, come to fruition with Metroid Prime 4. But it wasn't really Retro Studios' idea. So like I really want to see what Retro Studios has in mind for Metroid Prime 5, because like you don't know unless you have it, right? So nobody knew about Metroid Prime 4 until we played it. You don't know about things like the open world discovery stuff and Soul Valley and like hub world aspects until you play it. It may sound bad to you, like, oh, Metroid Prime 4 has this desert open world and people say it's empty and boring and blah 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 and all that kind of stuff. They sure can make it sound really bad, but until you actually play it for yourself, you won't really know. So the fact of the matter is, I can only play these games so much and show myself playing them to show you like why I like something. But ultimately, you got to decide on your own and think on your own as far as what you enjoy. But like, the best that I can do is just show you why I like something and then explain why. And if I can do that, and if I have an audience that listens to my opinions like that, I'm really happy with that. But you have to be objective, and you can't just be making up things about a game without showing it. A lot of rage baiters out there, content creators are only interested in focusing on negative aspects about any game, not just Metroid Prime 4, but any game, so they could get viewership, right? So they will They were over analyze and over target certain things that could be considered negative, so the game will look as bad as possible because negativity sells their brand on YouTube. And that is the very unfortunate aspect of what happened to Metroid Prime 4. The game is not bad whatsoever. The game is actually an amazing game, amazing accomplishment. I had a great time playing it. So, yeah, people are so interested in focusing on negative things that it gets so overblown that when people actually play this game, I've heard it so many times. I've heard it like hundreds of times already on social media. People who actually play this game, they're like, "Wow, this game's amazing. I don't get why there's so much hate." Yeah, because it's the culture we live in. All right, so yeah, someone was bringing up also in my 14-hour live marathon of Metroid Prime 4 on Christmas Eve that like wondering like what would just imagine how graphically insane Metroid Prime 5 is going to look exclusively for Switch 2, because I'm already blown away because of Metroid Prime 4 because of the art design. Like, I guarantee you, like, Metroid Prime 4 is never going to look bad because the art design, beautiful art is going to be beautiful art. It stands the test of time, right? So, like, the only thing they can do in future, like, Metroid Prime games is add, like, other flares of graphical effects, like ray trace reflections, like ray trace lighting, things that Switch 2 can do that Switch 1 can't do. So will Metroid Prime 4 no doubt look better than Metroid Prime 5 no doubt look better than Metroid Prime 4? Most likely yes. But like, does Metroid Prime 4 look bad? Absolutely not. It looks amazing. I mean, it has this majestic, beautiful art design and majestic, beautiful music to go along with it. It's just such a beautiful game. It'll no doubt look beautiful for all time because of just how it's designed. On the technical side, they're not doing certain things like ray tracing and certain reflections. They're not even doing like screen space reflections in Metroid Prime 4. But they get away with it because their art design is so good. So yes, Metroid Prime 5 I think will look absolutely stunning. I believe I said outworldly or like unworldly. Yeah, I on the live stream I said unworldly. Probably how Metroid Prime 5 is going to look. It's going to be insanely beautiful. Arlo never apologized for his Metroid Prime 4 video. He acted like his parents died over Miles. Yeah, people are very affected by Arlo, who is an actor playing a puppet, you know. I don't have anything against Arlo whatsoever, but he over exaggerates his reactions because he's an actor playing a part. He's a puppet. So like, yeah, it's whatever, dude. all his pauses that he does and long stares at the screen, and it's all acted and practiced, all that stuff. It's entertainment. But yeah, like people are very much. I mean, that's the whole point that I'm trying to make, is that people are so affected by others' opinions that they can't have their own opinion. So because a blue puppet is disappointed or angry at something, they're so affected by that Does that mean you can't enjoy the game yourself because some content creator has a problem with some part of the game? You guys need to play these games for yourself to really know. You can't just rely on some content creator's opinion all the time. Yeah, I understand. I totally understand. It's hard to gauge like where you should spend your money on games. I get it, because you just don't know sometimes. So you're trying to trust other content creators to give you an honest opinion on something, right? So I totally get it. Like, money's tight. You got to make a choice. You want to know if a game is recommended or not. Sometimes, though, you're just gonna have to play these games for yourself to really know, because the waters are muddied big time with games like Metroid Prime 4. Like, the waters have been muddied hardcore with this game. You look on YouTube, everything is negative about a game that was actually rated pretty good. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a bad rating on Metacritic, even though it shouldn't be anywhere near that low. If I'm 100% honest with you, it just doesn't deserve it. Like, factually, it's too good of a game to be rated that lowly, but it's still like a good rating. It's still considered good. The contrast is too crazy. It's too much of a contrast. If you go on YouTube and see nothing but like hatred and like disparaging comments about this game, it makes no sense in reality's sake. It's nowhere near that bad that people are saying. Yes, it's not a 10 out of 10 game, but it's nowhere near like a 0 like garbage game that people make it out to be on YouTube. So henceforth, since the waters are muddied, Metroid Prime 4 is very much a game that you may just need to have to go play on your own to figure out if you really are going to like it for yourself, or watch somebody play it live for you, like how I did. Watch one of my live streams, play it together with me. Doesn't cost you anything. You can see for yourself if you will maybe like the game. And if it's something that looks really nice to you and looks really fun, then yeah, I would suggest pick it up. Even if you are apprehensive about it, you know, like even a game that's like a 7 out of 10 to some people, it's still worth buying. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you can have a really great time with a game that's like a 7 out of 10. You know, maybe you get a good deal on it or something like that. But like, yeah, for me, this game exceeded my expectations. After I saw like Soul Valley and I was like, with the bike, I was a little bit concerned at first, maybe, but then after I played it and after I saw more of it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a great game. This is so much fun. I was just having a great time with it. So yeah. So like, yeah, you know, like I said, you're all welcome to have your opinions on where the game is. I thoroughly enjoyed the game. I personally don't feel the Metacritic is where the game should be, especially if you're being objective. Yeah, like the Metacritic is a 79 based on 112 critic reviews. I mean, I feel that's pretty darn low. The user score is at 8.2, which is higher than the Metacritic score, but that is with a lot of rage bait, downward, like 0 ratings on Metacritic for the user score, because people are wanting to hate review it. That's what they do. So like, yeah, scores, man. And the reason why I feel the game is extremely low rated on Metacritic versus other Metroid Prime games is because I wholeheartedly feel 100% that this game is better in almost every way than Metroid Prime 3. Okay, So, and Metroid Prime 3 was a 90 on Metacritic. So like that's just one reason. There's just so many things I could bring up about that. Either way though, like I said, if the game looks fun to you, and if you have seen people play it and you're like, wow, that looks really fun, then by all means, man, pick it up. I think you'll have a great time with it. I don't think you'll have any issue with playing this game. It's a really, really great game. Okay, what are you guys saying here? What are you saying here? Manish 3078. Nintendo lied to us about what? I'm looking for other comments that you made. If that's your only comment, you're looking suspicious. Oh man, it's so funny too. Like, well, what's up, Louise? It's so funny too. Like, I must have banned more people in the last month than I ever had on the channel, and that was I banned more people actually during my Metroid Prime trilogy live streams. It's because they were not obeying the rules of the chat, trying to like, you know, it's a backseat and tell me where to go in the games, but like people who are just trolls, you know, that kind of stuff. I don't have any patience for that kind of stuff. I just get rid of them. My goal as a content creator is to have a respected opinion, not just to get like lots of views and big subscriber numbers, because that's what content creators will do a lot of time, is that they will sacrifice their own opinions, their own objective opinions, in order to get more numeric value on their content, more subscribers, more views in their videos. In order to do that, you need to do certain tricks to get more people to watch your content, which means you need to, it ends up being that these people can't be as genuine as they possibly can, because if someone's just being honest, that's not going to get you a lot of clicks. So, and I'm just being honest with you too. Like, if you're just going to give honest opinions about stuff, you're probably not going to get as many views on your videos, because, at least at first, because it's not going to get the attention of the people who want to see negative content, rage bait stuff. So, is what it is. So I've worked hard over the last 15 years on my content to basically be as honest as possible in both a negative aspect and a positive aspect. So to give you like two sides of the coin, I can't just be, I'm not going to be positive all the time. I'm not going to be negative all the time. You got to have balance. So that's exactly why you see so many videos out there that are just negative as much as possible on this game, because that is the only way, one of the only ways you're gonna get more views on YouTube, is to do that. It's really sad. Yeah. I mean, and eight out of 10 is definitely is a good score. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a great score. But like, yeah, it's one of those things. I just don't think that particular, like, I think it just misrepresents what the game is. This is just my opinion in comparison to the other games. You see what I'm saying? If you're comparing it to Metroid Prime 3 that got a 90 on Metacritic, I think it's misrepresenting what the game actually is in comparison to where Metroid Prime has been previously. That's where I disagree with. An actual 8 out of 10 by itself is a great score. Nothing wrong with that. But like, yeah, in representation of where the games have been to the trilogy itself, I think that it's a bit off, just in my opinion. You know, there are some people that think Metroid Prime 3 is just like, yeah, you know, I've seen some people think Metroid Prime 3 is like a 7, you know, like just not good at all, like not good, just not that great. So like, yeah, it's all a matter of opinions, right? So J Biggs, the way I see the Metacritic scores is that it's a new generation of people scoring games now, mostly reviewed by the same. Yeah, these are new reviewers. Yep, different people. Yeah, no game is 10 out of 10 except for Knack. Yeah, right. Yeah, you know, I was one of the people that kind of pushed back on Breath of the Wild. I didn't really think the game was. I thought the game was overrated, to be honest with you. People didn't like that opinion, but I wholeheartedly felt back in 2017 and now that Breath of the Wild is in fact overrated. I think it's a great game, but I don't think it's a 10 out of 10 game. That's just my opinion. That's another story, though. Maybe, you know, personally, I thought Breath of the Wild was had way too many small shrines, not any like true real dungeon stuff. I was really disappointed in that, and there was no way I could think that game was a 10 out of 10 because it was missing some core things from Zelda that I feel really that it should have had. Just having a great open world wasn't enough for me personally. So yeah, like Breath of the Wild to me is like a solid like 8 out of 10 game. Like for Zelda games, I think Wind Waker, even with its terrible, if you want to talk about terrible like in-game quests, Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker has one of the worst in gaming history with the boat quest that you have to do all the fetch quest stuff at the end. I still think that's a better game than Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker, for me personally. Because the in-game quest, even though it's lame in Wind Waker, I still think the overall game itself is fantastic. Yep, and I like Twilight Princess better than Breath of the Wild. Also, I think Twilight Princess is like a 9 out of 10. So and then Ocarina of Time, I think might be the best Zelda game ever. Like Ocarina of Time, I think is just amazing. Like Ocarina of Time is like the Metroid Prime of Zelda games, in my opinion. It's just like an amazing game. It's insanely good. I think Breath of the Wild is a testament of a game that came out at a certain time for a certain audience and moved forward the open world, like open air aspect of gameplay for open world games. So like a game like Elden Ring would exist. From Software got inspired from Breath of the Wild, so they made Elden Ring. They did a fantastic job, great game. But for a Zelda game, I think Breath of the Wild strayed a little bit too much away from what a Zelda game is, which is what I don't think Metroid Prime 4 did. I don't think Metroid Prime 4 strayed away too much from what a Metroid Prime game is. I think it's very much a Metroid Prime game. It just has some different gameplay elements that spice things up, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, Ocarina of Time, I think, like, I kid you not, if they announce a remake of Ocarina of Time, ooh, ooh, oh my goodness. Like, wow. Now we're talking remakes. Because that's the only thing that could use something more modern is the graphical presentation and frame rate of Zelda Ocarina of Time. If they remake that game for the Switch 2, I don't think Breath of the Wild would be looked at the same. Once people experience a modern like retelling of Ocarina of Time on like a Switch 2 like level of graphics, like whoo, I can almost guarantee you people will be like, wow, I'm enjoying this way better than Breath of the Wild because I have like clear dungeons to go to and it's very well organized, and the Hyrule Field is really fun. It's not too big. It's not overwhelmed. Everything flows really well. The pacing's perfect. The dungeon puzzles are amazing. The bosses are awesome. Oh my gosh, this combat's so fun. The NPCs are really smart and all this kind of stuff. I think Ocarina of Time is way better than Breath of the Wild. But hey, you may call me a relic of an older time because I was there when it first came out. I don't really think nostalgia plays a part into it. I honestly think, yes, I was there on day one in 1998 when Ocarina of Time came out, but I honestly think it's a better game from a gameplay aspect. I think the dungeons are better designed, bosses are better. Like obviously, like how can you say that? How could you ever argue the dungeons would be better in Breath of the Wild? I just don't see it because there are no real dungeons in Breath of the Wild. It's all just small little temples. So, is what it is, man. But if you're one of those guys who feels Breath of the Wild is the best game of all time, more power to you. I got no disrespect for you whatsoever. Enjoy what you enjoy, guys. Whatever makes you happy, I 100% support you. Okay, like I don't want to degrade anybody's opinion. If you love games like Breath of the Wild, and if you love certain games that maybe I don't like as much, I 100% support you, man. Gaming is all about being happy for what interests you as a gamer. So like it's all about escaping the real world, having a lot of fun in these other worlds that these game creators design for you and to have fun with. So yeah, like I do really like Breath of the Wild. I just don't feel like it's anywhere close to being one of the best Zelda games. I said 1998 for Ocarina of Time. It may have come out wrong or something in the thing. 1998. But yeah, I was there day one with Ocarina of Time, and I was completely blown away by it. It was revolutionary. I still think the gameplay of that game and the dungeon design and everything about Ocarina of Time, except for the graphics and frame rate, everything else about it though, 10 out of 10. The game has just aged very poorly because of the Nintendo 64. Nintendo 64 games in general have aged really badly in 2025, just because they lacked they lacked they lacked the texture detail, they lacked polygons, very very angular, very flat looking stuff. But at the time though, that's there was no 3D Zelda. That was the first one, so at the time that was mind blowing. But that was 27 years ago. So yeah, I would say we could really use a Ocarina of Time remake and have a great time. Quest 64 holds up in what way? Yeah, not graphically. That game looks awful. I didn't even think that game looked good back when I first played it. yeah, the OOT's graphics can be charming for nostalgia's sake. Like, oh, look at this N64 game. But like, if you want to have modern players enjoy the game now, I think a remake, a full graphical remake with maybe some touch-ups here and there, and some of like the map system and some of the item, like how you select items, how you save your game in Ocarina of Time, they could touch that up with a full graphical overhaul remake, and day one, man, day zero for me. Yeah. Usually, Tim, what they do is that they'll do like a full graphical remake, but they'll add little touches here and there to fix certain aspects of the gameplay that they couldn't fix. I think that's all I would need. If they completely remake the game and remake all the gameplay in Ocarina of Time, then you don't really have Ocarina of Time anymore, necessarily. I don't know. But we don't know, like I said, until we actually see it for ourselves. Yep. Yeah, Hyrule Field in Breath of the Wild, very empty. Yeah, I actually think Hyrule Field and Breath of the Wild felt more empty than Soul Valley in Metroid Prime 4 because it's too big. Way too big. If you have a game so big, there's a lot of downtime. You're just doing nothing. So yeah, I think it was just way too big, and I felt a lot more bored in Breath of the Wild's open world than I did in Soul Valley. But Soul Valley was a lot smaller, and you can get in your bike and just zoom across it. So, Tears of the Kingdom. I'm one of those guys who liked Tears of the Kingdom better than Breath of the Wild. I felt like I had more things to do in the open world because you had different layers of the open world to do things in, and you had more of a return of semi-traditional dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, Soul Valley is a hub. It's not, like I said, it's not really an open world, so it is what it is. So I'm talking about my save system. Yeah. Good stuff. So, now in regards to story, I think, for Tears of the Kingdom, if we're talking Zelda, people didn't like Tears of the Kingdom story very much, blah, 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 whatever. Anyway, that's another story. We're talking about Metroid, so I can talk about Zelda. But yeah, like, I'm really, really excited for, I said 88, but that's fine. Okay. I'll look back on the stream and see what I said. If it doesn't matter. I meant 1998. But yeah, either way, I'm really excited for the future of Metroid and Metroid Prime. I think the game is going to sell good enough, especially since Nintendo had to commit to this game, and they understand the development issues that the game had. So no doubt they're going to be. It sounds like they already have a plan in place to make Metroid Prime 5 with Retro Studios, from what the interview said, and from all the indications of the story that we saw in Metroid Prime 4. I do think that we're going to be getting a Metroid Prime 5 sooner rather than later. Likely Retro Studios already has their storyboards ready for Metroid Prime 5, and likely a lot of times these developers, they already have plans in place for a theoretical Metroid Prime game, like Retro Studios, and that Nintendo may have denied at first because they already had an idea for what they wanted from Metroid Prime 4. And since they wanted Retro Studios to work on Metroid Prime 4 first, whatever ideas Retro Studios already had, likely already planned out, probably won't be seen until Metroid Prime 5. So I do think that Retro Studios likely is going to be implementing a lot of cool ideas that they already had a plan for Metroid Prime 4. They probably got denied by Nintendo. Nintendo probably told them to wait for Metroid Prime 5 to implement those, because we want to implement these other ideas we had already planned before we gave you development of Metroid Prime 4, and then you can do that for Metroid Prime 5. That's my guess. Aaron Rass, you're gonna have to go back to the earlier part of the stream for all my thoughts, because that's what this whole stream is about. So you're gonna have to rewatch the beginning part. But basically, I'm happy with what Retro Studios has accomplished. Less purple. This entire year for Prime 4 was graphics polishing. I think there has been some planning for Prime 5 at the end of last year. Probably. Yeah. I'm pretty sure this game was done in early 2024, and they've been just polishing it up ever since then. If you remember the videos we did, they were working on like debut trailers for this game like in early 2024. We found the real information that proved it. So it was pretty sure this game's content, story, and everything was all done probably in 2023 to 2024. And it's been just being polished and is repurposed a little bit for the graphics on Switch 2. How long until Metroid Prime 5 is in development? It's probably been starting right now. You know what I mean? I think Retro Studios could get Metroid Prime 5 out a lot quicker if they already have their plans in place and already have the storyboards in place. All it's going to take for them at that point is just get in there and actually make the game. So we could be seeing it by 2030. 2030? No. That's 5 years from now. 2028, I think. We may see it then, and then it may be released by like 2029-ish. It all depends on how ahead of the game they are, because the engine's in place already, right? That likely will be using the same engine. So we shall wait and see. Yeah, Luis, but this isn't GameCube. GameCube development was a lot quicker back then. I just don't see them realistically being able to release that in 2 years. And Prime 2, by the way, used a lot of the same assets and models from Prime 1. Likely in Metroid Prime 5, they may reuse some models, but it's going to be getting all new textures, probably a lot different models, a lot upgraded effects, graphical effects, for Switch 2. I just can't see them reusing a lot of the assets though, because it's still on a Switch 1. But engine, yes. See what I'm saying? People are talking about that Nash Weedle. Yeah. He is not a legit source that people should be believing for things, honestly. Nothing against the guy though. But yeah, he's not quite there yet. That would be nice though. I would take 2027, but I wouldn't get your hopes up. As with any game that's in development, you're going to be having bumps in the road, delays, what have you. It doesn't matter what anybody says for when the game's going to release. Don't matter. All that matters is the actual facts from the developer themselves, from Nintendo. And these games always tend to be pushed back for some reason or another. So yeah, don't ever take anybody's dates as legit. Don't ever believe anybody's date. I would never believe that. Anybody who tells you a date of a game that hasn't even been announced yet, of when it's going to come out, years in advance, they're usually like wrong almost every single time. And the excuse they use when they are proved wrong is that, oh, it's because development plans change. Well, of course they do. Duh. So don't even rumor things like that. Just be quiet. There's no reason to. Half-Life 3 has been rumored like every year for the past like 15 years. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Which game do you like more, Prime 4 or Dread? I like Prime 4 better. Yeah. The Prime games are usually my favorites types of games. Metroid Dread's amazing though, don't get me wrong. But I do like Prime 4 better than Dread personally. Like I said though, everyone's opinion's your own opinion. You can like whatever you like. I would love a Metroid Dread update though. I just give me a 4K update to Metroid Dread. That game could really use it. It's like 900p on Switch 1. So they really need to upgrade that game. And Metroid Prime Remaster too for Switch 2. Please. Already Metroid Prime 5 rumors. Yep. I mean, it makes sense when you see the ending of Metroid Prime 4. It does make sense that there would be a Metroid Prime 5. But for the 2D games, I think Metroid Dread is probably the best game. Best 2D game. Putting nostalgia, like I said, putting nostalgia aside for Super Metroid, I think Metroid Dread's the better game than Super Metroid. Plays better, better bosses. It doesn't have anything on Super Metroid for the music aspect. Super Metroid's way better in that aspect, but like for gameplay and like boss and challenge, I would say Metroid Dread is better. Better map design in Metroid Dread. So, but if you're just talking about nostalgia, if you're just the guy who sits there and be like, nothing will ever be better than Super Metroid for me because that game is that just holds a special place in my heart, then you're saying that nostalgia basically means more to you than the actual gameplay side of it. That's just where I try to draw the line. If I need to be objective about what actually plays better, then I'm going to say the new game is better, because if it is better, then it is better. I'm sorry. Yes, Super Metroid is a crazy, trend-setting, nostalgic, amazing game in every single aspect. Yes, it sure is. I love the game. Do I love Super Metroid in my heart better than Metroid Dread? Yes. Do I think Metroid Dread is a better game than Super Metroid? Yes. Does that confuse you? Maybe it does. But that's my nostalgia getting the best of me. When I feel the heartstrings pull at me from Super Metroid, it's because of nostalgia. But if you separate that from the actual game itself, Metroid Dread is a better game. Hope that makes sense. Thoughts on AM2R? Arcade Rave. Are you kind of new here? Maybe you're new here. Oh yeah, people have asked me that in the past too. I thought it was great. I didn't get a chance to play it much. I know there's like builds out there of it. But you know, they got Samus Returns on 3DS. I would love to have an HD remaster of that one with some updated models. That'd be really great. Yeah, Super Metroid is a 1994 game. Yes, and Donkey Kong Country came out in 1994. Fantastic game, one of my favorites of all time. Do I think Tropical Freeze plays better than Donkey Kong Country? Yes. Do I have more nostalgia for Donkey Kong Country versus Tropical Freeze? Does it pull up my heartstrings more? Do I have more feelings for Donkey Kong Country? Yes. From 1994 and Donkey Kong Country 2. I do think, for me personally, I think Donkey Kong Country 2 personally, I think is actually a little bit better than Tropical Freeze, even from a gameplay aspect. Even though Tropical Freeze is a fantastic game, one of the best platformers of all time, the one flaw that Tropical Freeze has from a gameplay aspect is its boss design. I had an issue with that. I think their boss design was too long and drawn out and over convoluted on how they designed their bosses in that game. But the actual platforming and all levels itself in Tropical Freeze, I think, were fantastic. I think Donkey Kong Country 2 is the most consistent, well-paced, designed, and just enough difficulty. I think it's just one of the most perfect platforming games ever made. DKC 2. Super Metroid gets a lot of hate for its wall jumping, but you got to remember, Super Metroid, the wall jumping is just differently controlled versus how other wall jumping is from other games that do it. It's one of the only games that requires you to press inward towards the wall on the D-pad and then outwards away from the wall from the D-pad as you jump in one motion, kind of so it's pressing in, pressing out, and jump. Whereas with Metroid Dread, you just hold in and press jump, and that's all you gotta do. So, or you just don't have to press anything at all, and you just wall jump automatically. They made wall jumping very easily, but Super Metroid actually requires you to actually do some movement with the D-pad. And that's where people have a big problem with it. Once you get used to that type of control, though, for the wall jumping, it becomes very easy in Super Metroid. The last time I played Super Metroid live on stream, I think it was a year ago or so. I demonstrated how to do the wall jump easily in Super Metroid, because it's really just tricking your brain, because your brain thinks it needs to be a certain way when it's actually not designed that way. And they don't really tell you either. You just have to figure it out. So that's one issue that people had with Super Metroid. Yeah, Donkey Kong Country 2, fantastic level design. Yeah, great design bosses in DKC 2 as well. They weren't they got a lot harder later on in the game, but they weren't super long, ridiculous I think in Tropical Freeze they just really should have dialed back how overly long their boss designs were. It was way too long. They need to simplify them. Yes, make them hard, sure, but don't make them so long. There's no reason I need to be spending 15 minutes on a boss on a platforming game. Bad. So, other than that, nearly a perfect game for Tropical Freeze. I love this. I love this area in Soul Valley. So cool. Reminds me of the Grand Canyon. Fun stuff. But yeah, so yeah, we got some history there on Metroid Prime 4. I think we're going to end it in the stream there. We've been talking about it for about 2 hours. But yeah, like I thoroughly enjoyed Metroid Prime 4. I thought it's a fantastic game. Like I said, if you take away your nostalgia for Metroid Prime 2 and 3, are those games as good as Metroid Prime 4? I kind of don't think so. But that's just my opinion. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for coming out to the marathon of Metroid Prime 4 with me over the last Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.